Hello all, this is Barbara Mann from Your Empowered You, and welcome to our short video on common human resources discussions. And this video is really geared for any level employee, whether you're a leader or individual contributor, it doesn't matter. Human resources available to every single employee at any level in your operation. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of the functions of human resources. But really what I want us to get out of it is they are an invaluable partner for any level of employee. They play a huge role in making sure that the operation runs smoothly in terms of paperwork, in terms of confidentiality. They're great partners for any part of human resources, human relations. So we're going to talk about what are those common discussions. It's usually around like paychecks, benefits, things that are really important to people in terms of the outside the workplace. Employee relations, that's another common human resource discussions. Inappropriate behavior or actions, things of that nature. We're going to talk about what are those most common ones in my experience. And then finally, another common human resource discussion is around performance. So what are some of the functions of the human resources department? You know, obviously they handle a lot of, paperwork. Some people think that the functionality of human resources is just paperwork, and it's not. But they do that, especially with new hires, helping people get oriented, getting signed up for benefits, kind of orienting them there through the policies of the organization. They also help with paperwork for promotions, for transfers, and that's important because you want to make sure that a human resource department and personnel is on the ball for this kind of stuff because this affects your money and your benefits. So suppose you have a promotion and the effective date is, Monday. We'll wonder if that doesn't transfer through and it's 2 weeks late. People get cranky, they've deserved that promotion and all that paperwork needs to go through smoothly. So a lot of responsibility along with, transfers. This important. It may not seem like transfers is important, but it is because the leaders look upon knowing how many people they have in their operation in each department and each team, things of that nature. So it's important. They also handle paperwork for terminations, which obviously is a big deal. You need to get this all correct. And then finally with benefits, and benefits is important. Paychecks, benefits, you don't mess with people's money and their benefits. It's very important to employees. So it's a very responsible role. Other functions of human resources, and I'm just going to touch, on a few. There's a whole plethora of them. But they handle confidential discussions with all levels of employees. They're a great partner for all of us in an organization. They're unbiased. They're not there to take sides between manager or to employee. They're there to be an unbiased ear for people to go in and discuss their concerns. They can offer EAP services. They do investigations, obviously, for egregious acts. So they're there to do investigations. They offer counseling, whether it's something that requires investigations or, maybe there's something going on in your personal life, you just need someone to talk to. Human resources is there to listen to people. They're there, human resources. They're there because it's the human side of the business, but they're an extremely valuable resource for every level of employee, whether you're a leader or an individual contributor, on the do's and don'ts. What's appropriate, what isn't appropriate. So they provide very valuable insight on how to kind of go about and maybe discuss matters with their peers or discuss matters with the manager, things of that nature. They offer a lot of solid advice. They also obviously assist with change management type of initiatives, especially around benefits. So every year the benefits change, or maybe there's an addition, maybe there is maybe something's taken away, and it's their job to make sure that folks understand those changes because benefits are a big deal to employees and their families. So they need to be able to explain those things. And to ensure that people don't get upset, because I've seen it many times that if you don't communicate effectively with employees on benefits, it really, really causes a lot of stress. And a lot of it can be alleviated and eliminated through proactive change management and communication. So also human resources, they assist with, outside functions, with volunteer efforts, and they're a great resource for that. And, like I alluded to earlier, they provide great suggestions for people on, people may have perceptions of different departments, or maybe their manager, maybe their peers. They offer suggestions on helping people through like those sort of sensitive situations. Maybe there's a perception that of somebody that they help work through that may be seeing the other side. But they are a very valuable partner to help guide us through the employee side of the workplace. I have relied upon them many, many, many times, and I've always considered them a valuable partner with any operation that I was managing. So let's talk about some of the big hot topics on human resources. And if you're a leader or you're an individual contributor, you may have had like one of this top one is about paychecks, benefits, time off. I always told, managers, do not mess with people's money. You better know what the rates of pay are, including like your overtime, any type of holidays. With the time off policy, make sure you get it right. You don't want to mess around with people's paychecks, with their benefits. You got to know it. And if you don't, make sure that you guide them to human resources, because if you don't have a good understanding as a leader, it can get you into some serious misunderstandings and some problems. So avoid a employee getting a surprise on a paycheck that it was short something. That's not a good idea. So basically, again, have an understanding of how the benefits work. And if you're not an expert, ask your human resource partner to help you explain it with you and the employee so you can learn as well. But always know the time off policies, because you don't want to say, oh yeah, you can have this time off, and you're wrong. That's not good, because people plan things. So know how vacation works. Know how the flex time policy works. So it's very, very, very important for leaders and for anybody in the organization to know how these things work, because if you don't, you usually talk to the human resources and you're in the human resources office discussing it. So that is a very, very common workplace discussion with human resources. Employee relations. That's another one that's a very common discussion point in the human resources office. And employee relations is obviously absolutely critical for an operation, to make sure that people are obviously getting along, that they're thriving, that they are learning, that they're growing, that they feel safe, but usually the employee relations usually stems from either manager to direct report aspect. So maybe you have a direct report that is having an issue with the manager. Maybe they feel that the manager is micromanaging them, or maybe they don't make them feel like they're successful. There's all kinds of employee relation issues that human resources gets involved with manager and direct report. It could be that maybe a individual contributor sees other managers managing a team differently than their own, and why is this manager doing this, and those types of things. But again, that's kind of the employee relations aspects. Or it could be peer to peer. Maybe they're not getting along with a peer or somebody in another department. But the employee relations is obviously very important, because people want to feel safe when they come to work. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel like they're part of that workplace family. So needless to say, people's perceptions and people's opinions, they vary. People listen to things differently, and maybe they analyze things differently. And so the human resources department is there to really help guide us through on, maybe understanding maybe the holistic picture, things of that nature, or maybe just to listen. They're there to just really, really listen. The other part of actually employee relations that they may or may not talk about in the human resources office is inappropriate behavior. That is a biggie. That's a big one that human resources must get involved with. There's a lot of discussions, confidential discussions, obviously, stem from is inappropriate behavior. Offensive language, that's a given. That's not good. There are probably some organizations more sensitive than others about it. I know that when I was managing operations, I really was very sensitive to offensive type of language. Another big one for inappropriate behavior is offensive email. You'd be surprised at how many people send emails that probably should not have gone out. And I don't think people mean anything mean by it, but you never know how people are going to interpret an email. It is not a good idea. Those usually don't end very well. So needless to say, human resources gets involved with, maybe someone saw an email. Maybe it wasn't even sent to them and they just saw it on the screen or something offensive on the computer. Person goes and talks to human resources about it. Again, we're trying to create safe environments that don't offend people. And is that always easy? It's not necessarily always easy, but there's some things I think we know what we should or shouldn't do. Other things that human resources gets involved in is outbursts. And this could be from outbursts from any level of employee. It could be your manager, it could be a direct report, but outbursts when it comes to customers, say on the phone. Outbursts obviously with other employees. Outbursts between management and direct report. This is not good. This is obviously inappropriate behavior. Human resources will get involved and should get involved. It shouldn't be happening, but it does. And they'll help guide us through, making sure that there's the best outcomes for those types of situations. So the last thing that usually that we're going to talk about, obviously human resources gets involved in a plethora of issues, but is around performance. So performance management issues. They help to, help us be, to help every level of employee be successful. So, I've always viewed performance management, it's not a way to terminate someone. It's a way to actually help them to meet and exceed the minimum expectations of the job. The reason that someone's on a performance management is that they're not meeting an expectation. So human resources is there, along with management, to ensure that people succeed. And if you have to put them on performance management, whether it's a written documentation, verbal, they're there to make sure that employees succeed. They have suggestions maybe for improvement. They have brainstorming. How can somebody succeed at their job? So a lot of times they're always involved actually in performance management and making sure that everybody is seeing a situation the same way, because if you don't have the manager and the individual contributor aligned on a plan for success, it's hard. And so again, human resources there is the unbiased department, unbiased person to kind of guide both sides through sensitive issues. And performance management is definitely a sensitive issue. The bottom line is some people think human resources is there to kind of, I've heard, they spy or they do this. No, they're there to be a partner with every person in the operation. They're there to help us to maintain healthy, successful, empowered relationships with every person in the organization. So some of the key points, let's wrap this up in a bow. Human resources is a valuable partner for all of us. They play an instrumental role to provide suggestions, guide us through confidential information, be a counselor. They help with our a load of type of paperwork, with our paychecks, with our benefits, with our transfers. It's all important to people. They help guide us through employee relations issues with managers, direct reports, peer-to-peer, department to department. They're here to help us address inappropriate behavior and to make sure that people understand what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable, what's appropriate, what isn't appropriate, and guide us through ensuring we're all aligned. And then finally, we talked about performance. They're there to help us to succeed. Again, in unbiased fashion. You want to make sure that you have an unbiased person who is an advocate for anybody in the operation. They're not there to take sides. They're there to help every person succeed. So I can't stress enough that human resources, in my opinion, has been extremely important for the success of me or my managers or my employees. They're there to help us. So I hope you enjoyed our short video on some of the common discussions that we see in the Human Resources Department. So for additional information, additional resources, just schedule a session with me. Please visit my website at www.yourimpoweredyou.com. You can email me at bman@yourimpoweredyou.com, or feel free to call me at 916-633-2555. And I thank you very much and have a very empowered day.